There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast, your home for deer hunting news, stories, and strategies. And now, your host, Mark Kenyon.
Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast. I'm your host, Mark Kenyon, and this is episode number 273. And today on the show, we got a fun conversation from our annual Iowa shed hunting camp, in which we're talking shed hunting, off-season whitetail prep and lessons learned, and we're tackling a little bit of listener Q&A. All right, welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast, brought to you by Onyx, and today I am sitting in Iowa for a kind of unique podcast of sorts. We're actually sitting in a truck outside a restaurant. We just had a fish fry tonight, and I'm here with my buddy Ross Haas and my buddy Uncle Peter.
Hello.
Thank you guys for making this work. We're struggling with the post fish fry kind of food coma.
Yeah,
would you say is that accurate?
Tired,
hitting us hard?
ready for bed.
Yeah. So if Ross sleeps his way through this one, forgive him.
Well, wouldn't be the first time Ross slept through a podcast of yours. But hey, I digress.
Well played.
Yeah.
So I did a crazy thing today. I was planning on coming out to Iowa for an extended shed hunting trip / do some podcasts, things like that. And I just had a bunch of funky things come up with my schedule where I had to go to some other places, and the time to do that Iowa trip got kind of cut. So I was sitting here last night, thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I'm basically not going to be able to go to Iowa for the shed hunting trip that we've been talking about at all, unless I somehow try to fit it in this weekend. But I only had one day I thought I could get away with that. So at about 10:30 last night, I decided, you know what? I'm going to wake up at 3:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'm going to drive so many hours, 6 or so hours to Iowa, and we're going to shed hunt for the day.
How's that going?
Well, no. Well is not the answer.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I'm going to try to do this all-day shed hunt and then leave still tonight. So that put a lot of pressure on today's shed hunt. That's to your point, Peter.
Yeah, well, you did find one. Two. One?
Man.
One.
Yeah, one.
Yes. I found one shed. But I think we gotta set the stage just a little bit more, because a couple things are worth noting. Today, I do want to talk about our shed hunting trip. I do want to talk a little bit about how the shed season in general has gone, because we're kind of peaking shed season right now for most people, and then it's going to kind of start transitioning over to turkeys here soon. Speaking of turkeys too, Peter.
Yes.
I thought, last year at our shed camp, our Iowa Shed Camp podcast, you were with me and Ross and Ben, and we spent a decent amount of time talking about, your hunting journey up to that point and some of the things going into last season. So if you'll let me, I want to grill you a little bit about how your 2018 season went.
Sure, we can do that. Your crowd's going to love that. So let's have at it.
So I do want to do that. And then we got a couple audience questions I wanted to tackle if we've got time. So the shed hunt, though, I I think you were seeing these, Peter, but tell me if you didn't. Ross has been sending our group text over the last few weeks, frequent messages saying how good it's going to be this year for the shed trip. Specifically, one honey hole of Ross's that we've been shed hunting for a number of years now, and he's like, "This is the year. It's going to be double digits on such and such's place."
Yep, 20 sheds.
20 sheds.
20 sheds,
Yeah.
50 acres.
Yep. And so I specifically was thinking last night as I'm laying in bed at 10:30, debating whether or not I should do this. Any other year, it would be stupid to drive all the way to Iowa for a one-day shed hunt.
Yeah.
But this is the year for
This
the
is the year.
double-digit sheds in one spot. Ross promised me, so I did it.
Last night I was getting ready for bed. Actually, I was just starting to lay down. Mark texts me, "So it's going to be good, right?" And I said, "Yeah, it's going to be really good. I mean, I'd come if I were you."
Yep, that was me doing a little self-debate. Is this a stupid idea or not?
Yeah.
Well, if we could find the guy's footprints and we could figure out who was there before us, unfortunately, we might have a good idea of what they found. So I would have to concur with Ross. I drive by the same spots, and it was just pounded with deer tracks, thick cedars, a lot of ridge lines, and just standing food of many varieties for them to eat. And I would say we would have found at least 15. I wouldn't go as high as 20, but
Yeah, 15.
yeah. So 15 would have been good. It would have been a good number for us. But
Why, Ross, did you think it was going to be so good?
It's just a good. The woods is just a good wintering kind of bedding area for the deer. Like Peter said, it's got a lot of thick cedars and there's a lot of sun exposed areas, and it's the closest cover to where they were feeding. So there's a bunch of standing beans that got left in because they got flooded or something like that in the fall. So the deer were just piling in there, just pounding it. So when I would drive by and check it at night, I'd see 75 deer, no problem, just from the road.
That's crazy.
yeah,
So I was
crazy.
really excited, and now we're just getting that snow melt. We had some warm temps this week, had a lot of snow on the ground last week. So we decided, well, now is probably the best time because everybody else has been watching this place too, and I'm sure other people have permission to walk it. So we thought, well, let's try to do it as soon as possible, and that's why we told you 20 sheds tomorrow, Mark. You should probably come down here.
Yeah.
I thought Mary, which I like to call her Mary, but her name is Sarah. I thought we had VIP access. VIP.
It's actually Stacy, by the way.
Oh, Stacy? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, yeah.
We gotta be so secretive.
What did happen with that, Ross?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Super nice lady, and grateful that she lets us walk in there. But fortunately, we show up, and within a matter of 30 seconds of getting there, there's boot tracks everywhere.
Pretty fresh ones, too.
Oh, really, really fresh. And then not just fresh, but then boot tracks that were old too. So
Right.
somebody had been in there a ton.
It's probably one of those things where you got permission hunt years ago or permission years ago to do something, and you don't always re-ask. You just kind of assume you can go. Perhaps. Yeah. Well, it was fun still.
Yeah, so...
It used to be fun, but then people started talking about shed hunting all
Yeah.
the time. And
Let's
then,
get a big shed rally.
yeah,
And
have a
everybody,
shed rally. Look at how awesome this is,
And-
everybody. Go out and do it.
yeah.
You guys don't like the competition, huh?
And then we go shed hunting, and then we find a bunch of boot tracks, get all discouraged, and then
Yeah.
hey, let's have a podcast about how awesome shed hunting is. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
It's a
it.
vicious cycle.
Little tongue in cheek there, but yeah, it's yeah.
So what? Let's break down where we did find some sheds, though. And for folks listening that are trying to learn a little bit more about finding sheds, I think it's worth noting where we found them.
I'll agree.
So I found one shed. Now, this is on a separate property that we went to earlier in the day before Peter was able to join us. But where I found it was actually down in a bottom right near a creek crossing. But there was a single lone cedar down there in this bottom. And there was snow throughout the rest of the bottom except for underneath this cedar. And I saw that lone tree there, and I thought to myself, that's worth checking for a shed. Walked over there and walked, looked at the big opening, didn't see anything, kept walking, and then stopped. And for some reason, turned and looked back the way I came. I think because there was all these trails coming down, I'm like, God, there has to be a shed around here. So I stopped, took a second look, and then somehow I had missed. It's kind of a small 4-point side. Was sitting down there underneath that cedar laying there. Saw it from the different angle. But that's one of those things. I think you guys would all agree. When you see those lone cedar trees, just always seems to be something worth checking, don't you think?
Yeah, other properties I've shed hunted around here, kind of late season, I'll go hit all those kind of stranded cedar trees that are kind of up on next to prairie grass and stuff, and you get pretty lucky. I've found a lot of green, like basically horns over there for a couple of years nobody saw. So
especially on a hard winter when the deer are browsing cedars more than usual. Like in a mild winter, they might not touch them really at all, but this winter was an exception, and so cedars are probably a good place to look this year.
So then where else? So I found mine first. No, you found the first one, Ross.
Yeah, that little dink. Yep.
You found a spike, right?
Yep.
Where was that?
Fence crossing.
Fence crossing.
Yep.
Okay. Second shed was underneath the cedar. Third shed of the day was.
Was that me?
It was that old one.
Oh, that old one. That was, if you can imagine, a prairie grass field, a gravel road, and then like that kind of thicket before a fence line. It was kind of going through the thicket, jumped the fence, and that's how I found it. So that was probably 3 years old. That was considered what would I call it? A chalk. A lot of chalk on that one. It was cracked and everything. So it was not.
Yeah, that was there quite a while.
Quite a while. Yeah, 3 years or so.
Shed number 4 was you as well, Peter, right?
Yeah, that was my nickname, Perimeter Pete. I like to walk the perimeter. If you can imagine this property having a fence line on the other side is private ground we can't walk. That's all prairie, and the deer come out of this array of cedars and ridges, and I was just on the edge in between. It's like 20 yards maybe of just mowed grass between the fence line and the...
On a road.
On a road, basically. So... yeah, you guys you traveled a long ways, Mark. I said, you go get the good stuff, and I'll just sit out here in the perimeter. And the last time we actually shed on here together, I did the same thing, just on the other side of the road.
You know what's funny is that, right, you always do this. You always say, I'll go get the low-hanging fruit, and you always walk the edge, and then you find sheds on the edge.
Yeah.
So today, before you arrived, Ross said, hey, don't let Pete walk the low-hanging fruit. You make sure you get it this time.
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen, did it?
And then somehow we self-sabotaged and let you take it anyways.
Ross was like, when are you going to get here? I said, well, why don't you guys just start walking? Maybe walk the stuff on the other side of the road first, and when I get there, I'll just walk the green stuff, and then you guys meet up with me at some point. But he didn't like that idea.
No, Ross specifically said we can't let him go free range.
Yeah.
Free range Peter is trouble.
He didn't have any high visibility colors on today.
No, I did not.
You had camouflage on. That's not like you. Can't keep track of you when you got camo on.
Yeah, hunting life.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last year, how you tend to wear high-vis orange shirts.
Well, I want you guys to know where I'm at, so when you got to come over to do some filming for me when I got this monster shed, I want you to see me and kind of get hey, there he is. Track him down. High-vis.
High-vis Pete found shed number 4.
Well, then...
Usually looks like
the orange on your hat matches the orange on my shirt, so...
It's true.
Combination.
Shed number 5 was Ross.
Yep, that one, not much to that one, except for it was just right in the timber where they had been quite a bit. It was just on the other side of a stump, so it was one of those ones where if you would have just went to the right a little bit, you probably would have missed it.
Why do you think that shed was there? Do you think that there were deer bedded there, or is that just transitioning?
I think just transitioning. I don't think there were, in that spot specifically, I don't think there were any beds, but
yeah.
Like you saw when we went to the other side, they were crossing that fence and coming into that timber quite a bit from there. I think that deer maybe was
moving in.
Yeah, or he was just up and browsing after being laying down. But
yeah, how many sheds do you have so far this year, Ross?
15 or something like that. Yeah. Peter?
I found a match set on some city property in the town I live in, and I found one when I was. I don't know if this is a tip or not, but I found one when I was looking at a property potentially to purchase. I was walking and I just found one, so that was kind of cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Are you going to buy a farm one of these days?
I think so. We were talking in the past about as a business grows, a lot of things are happening, and if you're self-employed, it's just getting the right financial people in your life with regards to accountant and making a strong decision what you can afford, what you can't, and knowing what you can do. And I think that's the biggest thing. So, yes, there will be something. I'm hoping to get it closer to Ross, so I got to be a little bit more patient.
Yeah.
So.
Something that Ross does, and this is actually one of the next things I wanted to bring up, something that Ross does really well, and that we got to take advantage of today, was getting permission. And you get so much shed hunting permission, Ross. I don't know how much. I bet you have thousands of acres of shed hunting ground. Would you say that's probably true?
Yeah.
Just in one person, actually.
Well, yeah, quite a bit. I mean, a lot of it's not good for looking, but yeah, if you add up all the acreage that you have access to, yeah.
Yeah, and then you also have a lot of hunting permission. And I just finished writing an article for themeateater.com about some of the things I've learned about gaining hunting permission, some of the things that I use personally, and other things I've learned from some of the folks I've interviewed on the podcast, stuff like that. So this whole permissions thing is on my mind, especially today now that we took advantage of. Interestingly, the spot that we shed hunted today, the honey hole spot, was a location that when I came out here maybe 6 years ago or 5 years ago, I was coming out to try to get permission to hunt. And there were a few places that you had recommend that maybe I should check with because you'd driven by or you looked at the map and you thought it looked pretty good. So I added those spots to my list. And this is a property that I had on that list. And I knocked on this lady's door and I don't think she was home. Or maybe she was home. I don't remember what happened, but I didn't get permission. I know that. But later we returned, and then I think you returned and got shed hunting permission on it. But this is all to say, now that I'm thinking about this whole permission thing, and now that some people maybe are out there right now trying to get somewhere to look for sheds over the next couple of weeks, we've never talked to you, I don't think, about how you pull it off so well. Is there anything you can share about your process for getting permission, how you do it? Because if I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were not into it right away. Like, you were kind of nervous about it. You didn't want to knock on doors when you first, started coming out into Iowa with our buddy Corey.
I don't think anybody really likes doing it.
Yeah.
I still don't.
I agree.
But I remember being with a friend of mine. His name is Josh, and he was bugging the heck out of me. He was riding passenger, and he was telling me, pull in here, pull in here, pull in here. And I just didn't want to do it. And then finally we pulled in there. And, of course, most people are genuinely pretty friendly. And we talked to the guy for 30 minutes, and he was showing us all of his stuff. And I don't know, we were talking about everything. And then one thing leads to another, and then he mentioned somebody, and then you go talk to them. And then as you start to learn about the area and you get to know people, just more doors open up pretty much. When I go about it, I don't expect, when I go to the door, I don't expect anything from anybody right when I go to the door. I just want to try to build a relationship, let them know who I am, know that they can trust me, kind of thing. So, like, if I go to a door this year, I'm not going to expect to get anything out of it. I don't expect to be able to shed hunt or anything like that, but just having a presence and getting to know people. And then one of the best things, too, is getting to know people in the area. If you get to know them pretty well, people always ask you where you're from or how you end up in the area. And if you know Joe Schmo down the road really well, it makes it easier to talk to other people as well.
Yeah.
I talk to people, go to the door and, okay, so-and-so goes to church with so-and-so, and, oh, I know him, and then you get talking, and then it just one thing leads to another, and I think that helps out quite a bit versus just being some guy that just wants something from somebody all the time.
Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with the old hunting tradition of eating, some organ, the heart or a chunk of liver, off the first animal you kill. I had that when I was a little kid, and it was a big deal. Organ meats were always prized by frontier people who knew the importance of getting a lot of different minerals and nutrients. And as often is the case, those guys were onto something, because organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. And you can get the same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil, made exclusively from regeneratively raised, grass-fed, and finished cattle. Heart and Soil's unique freeze-drying process means all those important nutrients are trapped in, ensuring you experience every one of the benefits of nature's superfood in a clean, convenient, taste-free capsule. Find out more at heartandsoil.co and make sure to use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. That's heartandsoil.co. Use the code MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
So when you're saying that you're not expecting to get permission of any kind the first time you go up there, what are you asking about?
No, I mean, I ask, like I ask right away, but sometimes a no isn't like a no forever. It's just a no right then too.
Do you go back every year or multiple years?
No,
in a row?
but I have. But usually people know pretty quickly whether it's something you should ask again or if
Right.
it's you should return or. But just getting a good conversation started. I wouldn't beat around the bush too much. Just let them know who you are, how you ended up in the area. They always want to know why the heck you're at their door.
Yeah.
Don't look in their windows and be standing right next to their door. Back off the stoop a little bit, stand back.
Yep.
Do you remember the first time we did it together? You're much better than I am, by the way, but that particular property, we asked to hunt and a lot of acreage there, and he said no, and he said kind of no right away, but very nice, and he talked for a half hour, and before we left, we were walking away, I went and knocked on the door again. I think that was me being aggressive.
Mm-hmm. You went back to the same door after you...
Well, just after we closed, I knocked on it. I think he was closing, or we just said, hey, I said, do you mind if we follow up with you in the spring, maybe to just look for antlers? We have a good time doing that. He goes, yeah, that'd be great. You guys, he said it was really cool. He goes, you guys presented yourself really nice. I don't have a problem doing that. So that was kind of, I think the presentation was key. We were non-threatening. So, but Ross, sorry, Mark.
No, go ahead.
But Ross, don't you bring Kendall up there once in a while, your wife? I think that's
No, she always waits back.
She never goes?
She sits in the car,
I thought that'd be
Really?
I think that'd be a good technique, too.
I have heard some people that do that. I've got a friend whose wife hunts with him, and they go tag team, and he believes that having his wife there with him helps him significantly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, exactly how to explain that, except for it shows that maybe you're a family man, you're, not too terribly creepy. At least you've got a wife. Says there's something that you can...
It kind of softens it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just don't expect to have a bunch of success like right away. Every time you go out and you talk to people, you're learning about an area, you're learning about people, and it builds on itself, and eventually it leads to doors opening up.
Yeah. Tell me, how often are you going and doing this stuff?
I hate doing it. I don't do it that much, Mark.
I feel like you do it more than most.
I did back in the day just because I was really motivated then. Now I'm a little bit more content. I still ask.
I think you can
people
talk
every
about
year.
Now where he's did the hard work. Now he's just, I guess, massaging them. He's kind of continually to massage.
Like special massage.
Yeah. Is it Fry Festival? Do you do that kind of stuff? Oh, Fire Festival.
Fire Festival. Did you guys watch that documentary?
Yeah. Ross, go get me some water.
Moving on.
Yes. Or the other show. What's that one? Anyways, we digress. Where are we going? Actually, I totally forgot.
No, you were talking about massaging your.
No. You just
landowners.
you don't get permission,
He goes-
and then stop showing up and being thankful. Every year, take the landowner something. I always like taking them walleyes, and they love that. And stop and just say you're in, even if you're in the area, just stop and say hello. Everybody likes to talk, especially in rural Iowa.
Northwestern Iowa.
I think I've only been to a door twice where it was kind of like, ooh, that was not a good idea. But but other than that, I mean, everybody's so friendly all the time, and it's just and then over the years you actually you can make some friends and create some relationships that are even better than being able to hunt.
Right. Yeah, you've certainly shown that that's the case. You developed some great relationships by way of that kind of thing.
But I think being down here though too, like when we were living in Iowa, when we came down here from Wisconsin, it was a little easier to get permission. Back when we were really trying to find places to go. Now it just keeps getting harder and harder. Other areas of the country, I think, would be, 10 times harder than here, but it is becoming more challenging for sure.
Do you think that's just because more people are trying to get permission, or are you seeing outfitting happening by you or other things, leases or what?
Leasing and then, and then everybody else, permission to other people. And it's
Years ago when we were kind of doing some of that filming for you, remember the disgust I got when Ross texted me, look at this sign on our stand. We had no idea our best property was leased out, and that's kind of the way it went. And then all the rest he had like 3 different areas we could hunt, individual farm properties, and each one of them slowly went away, and then it was gone.
That was really like end of an era too for you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah. We used to hunt together a lot back then. Then Ross got married.
Ross got married.
But Kendall hunts all the time too, so that's actually great for them. But
that still does bother you, doesn't it?
Not for me so much, no. Gosh.
Sure it does.
Ross would rattle the deer in, and he'd go, Peter, there it is, shoot. I go, no, not big enough, son.
My favorite, and I can't remember if we've mentioned this before, but one of my favorite clips ever that we had for the Wired Hunt episodes was, it was opening day in Iowa, 2000.
It was like 31 degrees too.
Or 2012.
Oh, yeah, it was
like
an awesome day.
Awesome day.
Beautiful.
And Peter's up to bat first. He has the bow. Ross is sitting above him filming.
Ross, were you even in Iowa then?
No, I was in Wisconsin. I just came down to video you because I thought, hey, he's gonna actually let the arrow fly.
Shoot a big buck. So now was it the split that came in first?
Yeah, but there was a smaller 8 that had great potential. Then the split 9 or 10 came in.
Describe this buck a little more.
No. That young buck that had like super
but there was
potential.
Like a 7.
He came through.
Yeah, he came through
with
first.
the split. Yeah.
But then there was
that one was okay. I'm okay with you letting that one walk.
Yeah, well,
that's fine.
Apparently not on the film though.
Well, no, that was just the way. It was.
Can you paraphrase what he said, Mark? Do you remember?
So when the big one came through,
bigger of the two,
bigger of the two came through. Ross says, "Peter, what are you doing? Shoot." Shoot. And Peter's like, I don't think so. And I laughed very, very hard every time I watched that. Watching you two squabble up in the tree.
It was like probably a 4-year-old, 140-inch.
I can say he was
10.
I think he was a great 3.
Whatever.
Yeah, it was like a webbing. It wasn't like a nice fork. It was just a webbing. And people.
Nice fork. What are you talking about? Now you're talking about the little one.
No, the split on the G2 was just more of a web versus this big.
This is why I'm hanging out with these two.
Yeah.
You're getting them confused.
No. It was right in front of me the whole time.
It was a big deer, especially for where
you're talking
where
about
we
one
were
that
at.
came in later.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a 2 at first. That's when you kind of yelled at me.
Oh, no, I'm okay with those.
Yeah, okay. The other one, I went home and I got sick to my stomach.
Okay, maybe I did yell at you for that. Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
You passed on like a 130 class buck and a 140
Yeah, and that was a
class
3.5 and had a nice split going on G2. But that one had a lot of potential for the further year. They kind of went away and Ross was still disgusted. Then an even bigger buck came because we heard a smack. Remember that?
Yeah, he was fighting somebody.
I go, wonder who he was fighting. So that's what I was thinking. Who was he fighting? He comes in, I'm like, G3's a little small.
No.
What did I do?
He had nubs for G4s, but
oh yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter.
That didn't matter.
No, shouldn't have mattered.
Why'd you talk yourself out of that?
It was just
25 yards broadside.
Real talk.
Just standing there.
He was probably 140.
What's the truth of the matter, Peter?
Truth? I just didn't want to shoot him.
So I drove all the way down.
Okay, here's
from
the real
Wisconsin
truth. Yeah.
To sit in that tree to watch you watch a buck.
Because Kendall the year before saw these 150s, 160s. I'm like, it's the first day of the season. And in reality, did I get another opportunity that whole year? Probably. But
wait, which one?
Remember the one that was...
What? Oh, the big... Oh, in public?
Well, no,
The big one?
later on the other one came. But we're losing the audience now. So
Wait, what are you talking about?
That 140 class deer I should have shot after the other two walked through, yes. I went home and I watched the video and I go, oh my God, he's huge. That was nice. That was my mistake. I think it was just first hunt of the year. I'm like, I got this, because Ross had to lay down, we got this permission on this property. It's 300 acres right here. I get to hunt it all myself. And because Ross is in Wisconsin.
That brings up other memories.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to wait. What's the difference?
And you actually did see a lot of good deer that year.
Yeah, and I had a lot of good video for you that year.
You did?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you going to say something, Ross?
No, that's all right.
Oh,
we can move on.
Do you remember? He's probably pissed off because I went, sorry for swearing. I didn't think he'd want to come all the way from La Crosse.
No. Okay, so the plan was I'm coming down to shed hunt. Kendall and I are coming. We're gonna come shed hunt.
He never told me.
He goes and shed hunts it by himself.
Ross, you should see all the sheds I'm finding.
No. That's not what it was like. You were finding you had 6 little ones, and you sat down on a stump and pouted because you didn't have any big ones.
Oh.
And then you found 5 right together.
Yeah.
You went through and cleaned it all up, and then we had to go back there and get the seconds. Unbelievable.
I had no idea.
I was mad.
I know you were, but I had no idea you'd
I'm still mad.
Well, yeah, you should be.
Damn.
Anyways,
back to Peter passing deer. When we had you on the podcast last time, Uncle Peter.
Yeah.
People might remember that as the closest thing we ever got to a Bigfoot episode on Wired to Hunt.
Oh, that was great. Oh, then you did allow me to market my business.
Yeah.
And I did get a gentleman that came in.
What did this client say?
I asked him, I said, did you listen to the whole podcast? Kind of a question mark voice. And
right.
He goes, no, it was good. Yeah, he didn't really bring it up. So I kind of let it go. As if he didn't know that I did Bigfoot vocalizations.
What do those vocalizations sound like?
Do the air raid siren just so everybody knows in case they hear.
No, we're in a public place right now. I'd hate to scare the natives. So
okay.
Yeah.
So,
maybe you can reference back to that.
Yeah, maybe. That's a lot of editing.
Yeah, but, probably not.
But we kind of talked about your journey as a hunter, how you kind of got up to this point, some of the different challenges you've had, some of the good things that have gone on, and we kind of left off hopeful. We thought that 2018 would be your year. You had some confidence coming in.
Yeah, we had a lot of good intel. So
before you go any further,
yes,
I gotta just make sure you don't forget that your 2018 season did begin very well with our Michigan turkey camp.
Yes, that was exciting.
Because that's a story worth telling.
I don't have a lot of experience killing things, so that was actually fun to get out there and kill something. So that kind of gets the food on the table.
So we're going turkey hunting together.
So
I was calling.
I got lucky enough to go out there with Mark Kenyon, the extraordinaire, pretty good at calling in turkey. So we get out there and we're sitting on this little spot. It's probably like a fence row that has a road coming through it, and we isolate the turkey at 150 yards away. Would you say maybe 200?
Yeah, something like that.
And it comes down
across the field.
We're watching this thing come forever, and it's getting within 40 yards, and
he's hammering away and calling.
I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. And then I'm like, Mark can be, I know Mark, and I'm not really scared of him, but I was actually scared of him during that hunt because he's like, Peter, don't move. I'm like,
did it really?
But I'm like, I got to move. I've really got to move. I'm going numb. And I'm like, I'm seeing a different side of Mark here. I'm like, that cameraman episode, this fall hunting where the cameraman was scared of you. I'm like, I guess it's real. And so I'm like, I got to move. I'm like going numb. And so long story short, that bird came in. We did great, and then I'm not an experienced turkey hunter, so I probably should just stood up and shot, right?
I think you could have just swung your gun at that point and shot.
Yeah, that was 5-10 yards through brush,
Because he was about to step on us. He came right in, and then if I remember right, we were waiting for him to pop out from behind some brush, and then he got right on top of you.
I probably would have stood up and fallen because my ass was numb because I just was in so much tenderness, pain.
Peter's in so much tenderness on his turkey.
Yeah.
So that bird walked right up to us, gobbling, and then
Wasn't Corey
was
shed sniper? Wasn't he just up the way?
He was probably like
He coulda had
70
a
yards
shot.
away. Yep, he was set up over there, and
Yeah.
then
So,
the turkey finally putted away once he kind of saw something was going on.
If you could imagine what Corey was saying in his head, what do you think he was saying?
he was saying, "What's he doing?
What's Peter doing?
Why isn't he shooting?
God, he never shoots anything.
Why isn't he shooting?" So that didn't work out. But then what?
So then we'll kind of do some fast forwarding here. We kind of walked around. We had a couple of opportunities, but didn't work out. Kind of run and gun, I guess, is the technique. And then we spotted some in a different field where we could actually shoot the field, but we couldn't hunt the field, if that makes any sense. We couldn't walk the property, but we could shoot the fence line, according to the farmer we had. And you were, if I recall, you were like, man, I want to go eat breakfast, Mark Kenyon said. I'm like, no, we can probably make this happen.
I don't.
Yeah.
You think
It was
that's what
those
happened?
waffles.
Yeah.
Those waffles.
Yeah.
man.
He wants the waffle.
He does.
He's a waffle boy.
I do like waffles. That's
Yeah,
true.
Feed the tripod. That's what I
can
always
eat.
say. Anyways, so I go, Mark, let's give this a shot. I go, it looks like the field kind of, looks like the terrain bends over there. They might be closer over there than they are here. So we kind of, let's just say we went 50 yards back from the fence line, cut through the ridge, and then we got there. I go, man, this can happen. So I started going down the hill, and
I stood up on top of the hill.
so what was our plan? You kind of give the plan that we kind of came up with at that point.
So if I remember
So it was
correctly,
me and you and Coco.
Corey.
Yeah,
And
Corey.
Corey, I don't remember what Corey did at all, to tell you the truth. I think he just stayed up behind me, right?
He was the wind beneath my wings.
He was the wind beneath your wings.
He was encouraging me.
And I was back on the hill calling, and you were going to try to sneak down the hill, kind of crawl down the hill, and then try, because of the way the ground, the slight hill and the brush, it looked like you might be able to edge your way up to the edge of the field.
So there was a lot of crouch walking to begin with, and then it happened.
You went prone.
I went prone.
And this is something specifically
I
Peter,
like to do. If you recall the picture of me being prone in that log,
Yes.
yeah, it's very, very dramatic. But
Yes.
I don't recommend it for everybody. It's not for everybody, but you should try to go prone once in a while.
So you went prone,
I'm basically
crawling on his belly.
I think it all started because there was like a tree down, but it had a branch like this, so I couldn't kind of duck through it. So I just started crawling, and I kept on crawling to the field edge. And
All the while.
yeah, I mean, there was 10 yards to go. I'm like, I don't think this is going to happen. I go, it's got to. So I kept on crawling. They didn't hear me, but you guys are making a cackle up top.
Right,
Were you at that point?
Yep, but once you were pretty darn close, I think we started trying to just get them to start moving our way a little bit, because they were pretty far out there.
Yeah.
And once you finally got like into position, that's when we really
when the magic
let loose.
happened. Yeah, that was intense.
And there was a hen started yelping, and then I would get her really pissed off. I'd keep yelping really aggressively back at her, and she'd keep going, and then I keep going, and then it just started, going crazy.
So at this point, I'm prone, just like you'd be shooting a rifle on the ground, and I think I had a red dot too, didn't I? Or was it scope?
I don't know.
Can't recall. Anyways,
Ross's gun, right?
I don't know. I think it might have been Dusty's gun. But yeah, and this big turkey. Ross hates it when I say it's all fluffed out. And
Jeez.
yeah, sorry, terminology. And it was coming, and then all of a sudden at the last second, and I probably could have shot him where he was, but I wanted a little bit more because he was coming. Why not let him go further? Because again, in reality, you guys are about 20 yards higher than me, so to speak, and so they were focused higher than where I was. And then this Jake just runs right in front of him and right at me, so I let him eat it. And that was my first turkey kill, so that was pretty exciting.
And dropped? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that fun?
Yeah, and Coco come running through there, and he's like, "Ah!" He's just screaming, and that was pretty cool. So it was a good
lot of
moment.
fun.
Yeah, it was. I look forward to doing that again this year. So
Yeah, that was an absolute blast, and I feel like it.
it kind of took the edge off something.
Yeah.
In in me. So
We were all proud of you.
We were very proud
yeah,
of you.
yeah.
Like, genuinely excited, proud, and happy for
Yeah.
you.
I can still picture you walking into that
The trailer.
that beautiful trailer with that Jake on your
Oh
shoulder.
yeah, that was cool. I don't want to talk about the trailer though. Man,
You didn't really enjoy sleeping in there, huh?
no. I feel like I hovered the whole time with my hands at my side, 6 inches off the bed because I didn't want to.
Just mice chewing on your earlobes, stuff
He
like
had that
that.
sleeping bag zipped up so tight you could just barely see the white of his eyes.
Yeah, penicillin's on the list of my things to bring next year. So
So turkey camp went well.
yeah, it was fun.
You're feeling? Did you? I feel like you left that with some new confidence. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I
maybe?
would say
A little bit?
so. Like I said, I think last year I'm not a big killer, but I enjoy everything about hunting. I grew up with hunting. My father and brother, they killed everything they saw, and it just wasn't who I was. But I have killed deer. I've killed pheasant, turkey now, and who knows what's next.
Now, a lot of you guys are familiar with the old hunting tradition of eating, some organ, the heart or a chunk of liver off the first animal you kill. I had that when I was a little kid, and it was a big deal. Organ meats were always prized by frontier people who knew the importance of getting a lot of different minerals and nutrients. And as often is the case, those guys were onto something, because organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. And you can get the same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil, made exclusively from regeneratively raised, grass-fed, and finished cattle. Heart and Soil's unique freeze-drying process means all those important nutrients are trapped in, ensuring you experience every one of the benefits of nature's superfood in a clean, convenient, taste-free capsule. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And make sure to use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. That's heartandsoil.co. Use the code MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today.
So talk to us then about the 2018 deer season.
So we're going right back to
Couple
where
highlights.
we had some good intel from previous hunts last year. I do hunt mostly state land now, and I partake in river access on some of these spots because for the benefits of it, you just cross the river and you're up in your stand, and that's it. Deer don't know you're there. And this year the river was so high, we did some testing during like a midsummer's day in September, and it was up to our chest, where normally it's at just above your knees or at your thigh, and it was just too risky, I thought, going through there in the middle in the morning, dark. Heaven forbid. Most likely you'll make it, but if you fall, that's just a little dangerous. So decided to just take the long way in and walk the whole property and sweep down into this river bottom. And I ran a few deer a few times, and I really think that just educated the deer that something was going on out of the normal. And I didn't see as many deer as I had in the past, but I did see a nice one, a nice 140, 150, looked to be an 8 or 9 pointer. And we did get a quality deer on camera, and that was amazing to see that on camera. So
A quality deer?
If I say the word Don Higgins, does that give you an idea?
So a really big buck?
Really big buck. Yeah, I never really thought I'd catch one of those on camera around here. So one photo in that, 5 photos in that little series, but we never saw him again. So we're not sure where he resides, but he resides somewhere around that area. So
Now back to your that encounter. You had an encounter with a really big deer. Wasn't there a learning experience of that encounter?
yeah, so basically we set up on seemed like a primary scrape tree. We like to hunt this area around the early 20s and all the way to November 1st. It seems like it's best at that time. And the year before, I had two monsters go through there, and with no opportunities. I was in the wrong spot. And then we moved everything to the right spot. We thought this year the scrape wasn't as active as it had been in the past. And And so we just didn't get the quality deer coming through. But I learned this year they're still coming from the one spot. So next year, if I can cross that river and maybe do a little bit more mobile setup, I should be able to get a better chance at one of these deer because they're just doing the same thing.
Gotcha.
So I was hoping they'd go to that scrape like they did the year before. They didn't do it this year. We didn't get a lot of intel this year. We had a camera up in September all the way to October 15th or 16th, and a raccoon knocked it over. So we don't know if that bigger deer would have been there or what type of deer were there this year compared to other years. So that was distressing. So
you had one good encounter, couldn't get a shot.
Yeah, I was just 50, 60 yards away, so no shot there. I did move kind of then from where they were coming from, and one great morning, got one of the first does must have went in the heat around there, and I saw this doe. It was awesome. She was running by herself, just crazy, and she's making all these crazy zigzag patterns all the way down this ridge and back up and down, jumped down to where I was, and at that time I was watching a 2.5-year-old buck. He started chasing her the opposite direction. But 5 minutes later, all these bucks come running on her same trail, and they all zigzag up and down the hill. I did have a good encounter there with maybe a good 4.5-year-old deer. I don't know how big it was really, maybe 140s. Pretty thick, it seemed like. Not huge, but I didn't do a lot of trimming in this spot. Well, you can't, but I was up in... My window was more forward where this came into my left, which, if you can imagine all these saplings growing, so all these little tines and trees. He was at 10 yards, just couldn't get a shot.
Do you think there's anything you would do, anything you do differently coming into this next year now after these close calls you had or the failed access via water?
Yeah, I think the water is the main access. Maybe, do I get a kayak? I don't know. Just seems like a lot of work just to do that when... In reality, if I can just go down this bank, what I was doing, that seemed to work fine. It really depends on the water, but...
If you had full-blown waders, could you do it?
Oh, I did have full-blown waders.
Oh.
It was just kind of... 2 years ago, I fell in the water when I was up to my knees, and I ruined my camera and everything. So I just didn't... It was pretty fast, and when that water's fast through there, it turns up the underneath, and it makes it kind of a little treacherous. So
a lot of big rocks.
Yeah, a lot of big rocks that you kind of... I just think it's kind of a faster spot, and you follow those waders. Maybe I'm being a little wimpy, but I just figured it'd be easier just to do it this way. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. So feeling good about 2019?
Yeah. There is a dream buck on that property, and I really don't worry about it. For me, let's get a nice one down. Let's find a nice one. There's plenty of them there. Some things happen to this property. I'm not going to go into detail, but it makes it a little harder for people to get to certain spots. So if you're not willing to put in the walking, and it kind of slowed down some of the foot traffic this year, I noticed. And I think that did a lot of good benefit as well.
Yeah, it seems like a little honey hole if you get into it.
Yeah, so...
Well, then, Ross, what about your off-season? Because we talked to you back in November after you killed that big old buck. But, I know that you're just like me in that every year you're kind of overthinking everything, right? Yeah. Am I right in guessing that? You probably think through everything and analyze all the little things that went right or wrong last year and think about what you want to tweak. Do you have any big tweaks that you're planning for this off season? Where shed season is going to be done in a handful of weeks, and then it's either food plots or tree stand prep or scouting or all that. What's on your to-do list this off season?
I think for next season I'm going to try to move. I'm going to try to find something. I guess where I've been focusing, there hasn't been anything too big lately, so. I think I might, depending on what the cameras show and stuff like that, I might have to move a little bit and find something maybe I get a little bit more excited about. The quality of bucks just kind of down in that area right now. So I'm thinking about maybe trying some public land again, moving around, trying to find some bucks. Other than that, though, I'm still in shed mode and then turkey mode.
So you might hunt with Pete again?
Yeah, we can hunt again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you really?
What? Yeah, we did last year.
We did once or twice last year.
Did you?
Yeah.
What's that like?
To me, that's what hunting is, I guess. I enjoy the camaraderie part of it. We talked about me buying land. There's some nice properties north of me, but I'm like, well, I'd rather be next to Ross or somebody, like a buddy. Then we can kind of brainstorm together. You're just 5 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, and it just seems more ideal. So hunting with Ross is always fun because it just get to chat a little bit, or you just kind of, you got two minds out there versus just one. So.
Ross, what would you say that's like?
Oh no, it's a lot of fun. I miss it, Peter.
Yeah, Ross says I walk too fast. That's the only thing.
Yeah, well, if you get so sweated up like that, you got to change all your clothes by the time you get to the stand. That's a problem.
Yeah, I guess.
You do. You practically run.
Does he really?
Oh yeah.
Is he loud? Is that something we got to work on?
Well, he falls a lot.
Yeah, I do fall.
You got bad ankles.
Bad ankles and knees.
Have we told the story about the climbing tree stand yet?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was a couple shed camps ago.
I tied up the bottom with twine and it fell.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than help me right away, he just took a picture.
You're just dangling. Remember how you thought you were just going to bear hug the tree? And
well, I could have.
down?
I really would have had to. I mean,
You really think you could have?
Yeah, I'm a survivalist. Hate to see me in bear country. Look at these deer just running here,
Yeah, we actually have a bunch of deer running around in front of the vehicle right now.
mocking us.
The irony of us talking about a hunting strategy while there's, how many are there?
There was 4 or 5
4 or 5
at
deer?
one point.
Yeah. So you guys are hunting together. When you do that, Ross, do you usually like to have Peter be the hunter? And well, in this situation, you guys aren't filming though anymore. So what would you just hunt separately then, right?
Yeah, we could hunt separately, but did I take the camera last time?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to try to get it.
We'd like
Yeah,
to
well, it was fun. We didn't see
like
really
to
much of anything, but
contribute one more time to you if we ever could, or sell it to the highest bidder.
yeah.
I'm joking.
Shoot that really big one.
Oh gosh, can you imagine that?
That'd be something. That'd be quite.
So maybe that's something Ross and I can do as a goal this year. Maybe we can, we kind of know where it's probably living, but we don't know for sure. Maybe we can do some scouting this, spring or summer, set some cameras in different spots. Maybe it would be fun to try to track that deer down,
Yeah, it just all depends on
where he's at.
if he's living somewhere where we can get him.
That would be unbelievable if you guys kill that deer.
Picture we got kind of suggests that he was bedded on public that day,
Yeah.
but I have a hard time believing just with all the pressure that he stays there past mid-October when we got that picture. So I don't know.
I wish you guys had that camera still running, or wish that it hadn't got knocked over,
Yeah. Yeah, raccoon knocked it over, so we don't know what we could have saw.
Yeah, so it goes.
We were traveling a couple hours to get to that public area. That was a long drive.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with that. It's like seems like it's in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so yeah, Ross's season. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need to do a whole lot of different changes. Doesn't sound like Peter.
No.
You got some tweaks you want to make, but this is going to be your year. We all of our group text buddies, we're all convinced that when you do kill a buck with your bow, it's probably going to be like a 180 non-typical giant. So I'm quite certain that you're going to have some smashing success here soon.
Exactly.
It's
the way it has to be.
I want to tackle a couple quick listener questions before we wrap up this little BS type episode of sorts. Are you guys cool with that?
Sure.
All right. This is kind of just an interesting scenario to consider. Someone wrote in, said something along the lines of, it's not uncommon for guys to talk about seeing bucks that have already shed their antlers before the season's over. So in light of this, I came up with an interesting hunting scenario. Let's say you've been running your cameras all year and you have, I just exited out of the thing. You've been running cameras all year and you've got a sure enough stud on camera, 160 plus, once in a lifetime type buck. And for the sake of the story, let's say that he's highly identifiable even without his antlers. So let's say maybe there's a scar on his face. So you've hunted this deer all year, and one morning in January, you're walking to your stand and you stumble upon some sheds, and they are obviously from this buck. You pick him up and you go get in the tree stand. And right after daylight, here he comes. He steps out right in front of you so you can take him. What do? Do you kill that deer even though he's dropped his antlers, but you have the antlers? Or do you not?
I'd probably kill him.
You'd shoot him, huh, Ross?
I don't know. I think so. I can just...
Do you imagine the taxidermist could...
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's the same deer, got the antlers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Peter?
Gosh,
No, he's not going to shoot him. Come on, we just talked about this for the last how many minutes? He's not going to shoot anything. That's the question you came up with?
I've actually thought about that from a standpoint if you're watching it eat and you watch it come in and one drops right there, like maybe with one horn and you know you have the other one, I thought I would shoot.
If that's a buck you want and you have the antler, I mean, it's a cool story too.
Yeah.
Now, what if he had one antler dropped already, but not the other? But you've got permission on this farm. Let's say nobody else hunts this farm.
You don't have antler in hand, though, correct?
You don't have antler in hand.
No,
so you would have to you'd be betting that you could find the shed.
I wouldn't shoot him.
Let him go. Yeah.
I wouldn't shoot him.
No.
What about this one? Well, this is something, I had to deal with a couple years ago. What if you've got the same buck that you've been hunting all this time and he busts off some significant portion? Let's say half a main beam. Shoot or don't shoot.
What does he look like?
Let's just call him a big mainframe 8-pointer. Well, let's say we'll do like the Holyfield scenario a couple years ago. Big mainframe 8, but busts off his main beam, past the G3.
And this private or public?
Private.
Let's say you've chased him for years and you got close many years. I think at that point it's more about getting the deer than maybe the rack, right?
Yeah.
So maybe at that point
I might shoot
the
him,
deer,
especially if he's not going to really amount to much the next year.
So Steve asked me this question though. He's like, well, if it's not just about the antlers, if it's about the story, it's about the experience, the journey you've had with this deer, why wouldn't you shoot him if he lost his antlers completely? Or if he busted both main beams. So would you shoot this deer if you've been hunting him for 4 years, over and over, all these encounters, but you can tell with the scar this is him, and he's busted both of his antlers off. Maybe he's just got some spikes sticking up, main beam sticking up now or something.
Would you shoot him?
See, I would say that I probably wouldn't. But
no, I'd wait till next year.
But it kind of kills me to say that because part of me is like, why does that matter? It doesn't. But I think the way I thought about it is if I was going to kill this deer that I've seen so many times and had experiences with so many different times, I would want to have that deer be the way I know him.
Exactly. That's where I was going. If he's not the memory that you have, then you're shooting something this is a double edge, but you're maybe not as happy with him at that level or at that.
Yeah, I mean, in some weird way, there's something there that it's just, part of the thing is, and again, it's obviously not all about antlers and rack and stuff. At least, not for me. I don't think for you guys either. But that is it's a physical representation of that animal and that experience when you have that rack on the wall or the mount on the wall or whatever it might be. And every single time I walk into my various rooms where I have deer on the wall, I stop and I look at them and I think about those memories and it all comes back. I absolutely love it. I love just sitting in my main room with all the mounts and just looking at each one of them or taking my son to each one. I love being able to look back and see that and relive those moments. And it just wouldn't be the same if you don't see that same animal that you saw originally,
Although we did have a deer once, Roz. Remember Twin Towers?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't broken, but he just didn't develop nice. On one side was just these two twin towers, like the World Trade Centers coming off one side. One was a little taller than the other. The other side was a beautiful, God, he would have been a 150, 160 class deer. I'll just say 150 for sure. If the other side matched, but he was unique and just beautiful in his own right. And he was just like two huge spikes on one side, and then the other side was just gorgeous. So I think it comes down to the eye of the beholder.
Yeah. So speaking of in the eye of the beholder, Peter, you're one of my elder friends.
Yes, thanks.
And
I'm at the high end of your demographic.
You are at the high end of my demographic.
You could be his dad.
Yeah, I could have been. I actually lived down by those guys.
In Ann Arbor?
I might have tapped Mark on the head one day at the candy store. I lived in Ann Arbor / Tecumseh.
Don't tap kids on the head at the keys.
Be like, oh gosh.
Definitely one of the worst things you could be doing.
So you're suggesting that I did that. I didn't do that. But at one point, I physically could have walked by Mark and said, "Hey, little boy,
you want some candy?
You're going to run a podcast someday."
Oh, so this guy says he's 42 and he just started hunting this year. He's been intrigued with the sport for ages, and after watching, in this case, it was the Meat Eater TV show he was talking about, watching the show, listening to the podcast, he thought, screw it, I'm going to try it out. So he went out and he got all the stuff he needs to hunt, weapons, gear, etc. He's got a buddy who owns 1,000 acres in Ohio, and he's ready to hunt. His big question is he's just wondering, what are the top 3 things he needs to do or focus on to make 2019 a successful whitetail hunting season? So this is obviously could be a very generic question, but I want us to think about for a 42-year-old adult onset hunter. So for a new hunter, but who's an adult at that age, at that point coming into this, what's one thing that we could each recommend for Jim?
Okay.
Shoot a doe. First thing.
Explain why.
Just to get some experience. So just get some experience shooting at deer. Obviously practice and everything ahead of time, but shooting a doe would be a great first step. Get some venison, get some practice. Don't worry about shooting a big buck or any of that stuff.
I feel like you're talking to me.
Well, maybe I am. I'm glad you're listening. But I think sometimes listening to some of this stuff or reading things, it's all focused on big bucks, and people can get kind of they think that's what they have to experience, or that's what they have to or that's what's going to make a good hunt or a memorable hunt, and that's not the case anyway in any case. So I would just focus on shooting a doe and just learning about deer, watching deer, and starting simple. Don't focus on all the fine details, because that will come once you get some experience.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice, and kind of what I was thinking too. I do think that there's something about taking those baby steps, like one step of the ladder at a time. And I kind of made the same mistake. I wish I had started shooting does earlier on, because I wanted my first deer to be a buck. And so I passed on many deer over the years to try to get that first buck. And I think I would have grown a lot more as a hunter more quickly if I had, just gotten that monkey off the back,
I should say shoot a doe or shoot a small buck.
Yeah.
Shoot the first buck you see.
Yep.
Nobody cares how big the buck is. Everybody's going to be happy for you. The only person that cares about what you shoot is yourself. Nobody cares if you shoot a big buck or a little buck. It's nobody's going to remember what you shot. Nobody cares. So
do it for you.
Yeah, do it for you. Totally.
100% agree. Peter, you are the closest in age to this gentleman.
Yeah, I would have to say I heard 1,000 acres, and that can be very overwhelming, I think. I had access to 500 acres one time, and I tried to hunt the whole damn thing. I would maybe section it off, do your scouting, and figure out where you can hunt, where you can't, and then go about it that way. That 500 acres I had to begin with, I was just jumping. I never really got consistent and everywhere. So
that was good, Peter. I like that.
That'd be my eyes. I think
start
maybe
with a small section.
Yeah,
section it off a little bit, figure out the best few spots in that area, and then go from there.
Yeah. And I will add that we did a podcast last summer, I think it was, all about beginners deer hunting or beginner deer hunting type information. It was called, I think it's episode 260, maybe, or 160. Gosh, I should know this.
Yeah, it is your damn podcast.
I'm going to well, we don't have service down here, do we? But if you were to Google the Wired to Hunt Beginner's Guide to Deer Hunting, something along those lines, that I think would be a good resource for you, Jim, as well, because, there are a lot of new hunters that pop into the Wire Hunt podcast, and sometimes I maybe don't do a good enough job of helping those folks out because we do tend to go really deep into the weeds and things. And it's worth remembering that it is important for us all to, try to help out those new hunters too. And I think that's the one piece of advice. What do you got here? 216.
Yeah, the size of that buck we saw.
216. The size of the buck we saw.
Never mind.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Seriously?
What, is that too much information I gave?
You
out?
already gave too much information.
It's like nobody's going to track it down.
Well, whatever.
What I was trying to say was that was our advice to Jim. I think my advice to the rest of our audience is to just consider trying to be a mentor for a new hunter like Jim or a young person who maybe wants to get into it. That's a goal of mine this year, is to try to do a better job of that, and something maybe worth considering for all of us. I know, would you consider yourself a mentor, Ross, to Peter? Because you guys kind of had a relationship like that early on, right?
No, I'm pretty much. What did we do that first time? How'd that go?
Yeah. Well, I showed up in tree bark camo. This was 2007. Yeah, that wasn't very popular back then. He goes, "What are you doing?" "I don't know. I'm going to find a trail and sit on a rock." Because there was a lot of rocks around here.
And I just pretty much said, "All right, see you later."
So, and I saw 4 or 5 deer. I saw 4 or 5 deer.
Maybe that's why we had the conversation we had to start this podcast.
No, later, because he knew that I hunted, but I'm like, I'd never had a tree stand. He goes, "Okay, we're going to go to Dick's," or wherever we went, and got some tree stands and climber, and then it all started from there. So,
and all the adventures ensued.
Yeah.
And here we are, sitting in a truck, after eating catfish,
watching deer.
And I think that is a good place for us to end this quick episode. But it was a good time, guys. Thanks for having me along for the shed hunt. I get a kick out of every time I get to come out here, and whether it be deer hunting or shed hunting or just BSing. It's like you said, Peter, I think that is a very wise set of words. It is about the camaraderie. It is about the relationships and the people. And sometimes I'm guilty of getting so obsessed with the end goal of trying to kill a deer. I get really, really into it, obviously. I sometimes lose track of just the simple things. And I think that something you've got very right is the fact that you prioritize that.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for being that role model for us, Uncle Peter.
You're welcome. I love you.
Well, there you go, folks. Thank you, Peter and
Don't
Ross.
be afraid to say that. Yes.
Glad you could come down.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Next time you promise double-digit sheds, though, Ross, I'm going to be a little bit more skeptical.
The number one tip for anybody is don't count your sheds
before they're
hatched.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or dropped.
It seems like bad luck.
Yes.
Yeah, really it is.
That's all right. Next time, right?
That's right.
All right, let's shut this down. And that will do it for this episode of the Wired to Hunt podcast. So I will just ask you, if you haven't yet, feel free to head on over to iTunes and leave a rating or review of this podcast. If you want to follow along more about what I've got going on in the whitetail world, check out the Wired to Hunt Instagram account or Facebook page. And other than that, I would just say thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in and spending your day here with us. Best of luck in the woods if you're scouting, maybe even starting a turkey hunt. I know that's going to be kicking off for a lot of people. And until next time, stay wired to hunt.
I'm sure a lot of you guys remember the old ceremonial hunting tradition of eating the heart out of the first animal you kill. Meat from those organs are among the most nutrient-rich foods on the planet. You can get those same benefits your ancestors craved via convenient daily capsules from Heart and Soil. Find out more at heartandsoil.co. And remember, use code MeatEater for 10% off your purchase. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.